Well, I'm back and it's a new year, and hopefully I can say a happy new year to you, Scorpio. It's great to have your company. For those of you that are new, welcome. I'm the bald guy from astrology.com.au. I do the monthlies here, but the beginning of the year is pretty important. And even though it's only a 10-minute reading, I'm going to refer you back to the full 3,000 word forecast I've done for each star sign later after I finish. But this year I want to just punctuate the timeline of 2021 for you, as I have with the other star signs, with a look at the karmic points in the horoscope to see exactly where the major shift is happening. There are 4 big eclipses this year that we're going to reference here. The karmic position, which those eclipses trigger, and then the great conjunction which took place in late 2020, which is going to be playing out throughout the year. That's Jupiter and Saturn here. We may as well start with that. In the critical 4th angle of your horoscope. Now, 4th angle of the horoscope is important. I'm a Scorpio, as many of you know. And my teachers have taught me that when these two planets come together, and this is a very rare conjunction, usually it happens every 20 years, but this one has been the closest in several hundred years. And depending on the house in which it takes place, in your case, Scorpio here, 4th house, you can definitely expect some dramatic change. In my case, my marriage just finished after 11 years. So that's an example of what happens. Now, it may not be that all of you are going to end your marriage, but it may, for example, especially around the time of retrogression of Jupiter and Saturn. Let me give you a couple of those dates so you can put them in your diary. I'll be referencing them in the full reading that I'm doing a little bit later. But let's have a look here. We've got the retrogression of Saturn on the 23rd of May. Then we have the retrogression of Jupiter on the 21st of June. Saturn, Jupiter go direct on the 11th and 18th of October. And then at the end of the year, we see the direct motion of Saturn and Jupiter, 24th, 29th of December. Jupiter finally moves into Pisces. That's 29th, the very end of the year. Those dates I've just given you are important turning points for you. And also because if you look here at the chart, the 4th house is the 2nd angle. The sun sign, if we're looking at the zodiac sign you're born under, is the 1st angle. 4th house is the 2nd angle, domesticity, the family, your home life, that structure, the mother, the early hereditary that you have. 7th house is your principal relationships, and we see the right angles here really challenging you there in terms of your relationships. And the upper angle, which is your career, the 10th house. Now, just coming back to this, it's interesting because you may find, also because Uranus is retrograde, Uranus is very unpredictable, and it's there in the marital sector. It's in the 7th house, which is the marriage, principal business partnerships, and public relations, the world at large. The way you generally look at people and see people is in for radical change if it hasn't already happened, because this planet's been there all through last year. It could well be, particularly when you see Mars, your ruler, moving into this 7th house in the early part of 2021, triggering some explosive energies there. You've got to be very, very careful that you keep a lid on it. You don't shoot from the hip. You maintain a little caution there. You're going to be very, very frustrated because I've said this to all the other star signs, the square aspect from the traditional Saturn to the progressive and avant-garde Uranus is really almost like a magical act, weighing up these two completely different types of energy. But they are playing out in your relationships now. Some of you are walking a razor's edge because you desperately want to remain committed to that traditional view of marriage. You know, if you're married, you want that to endure. But then there's this other thing going on for you. It's like, come turn everything up louder than everything else. What is it that I missed out in the past? That I need. And look, Venus, the planet of marriage for you, ruling this 7th house, and also the 12th house, which is your past karma and hidden spiritual aspects of your life, is here with the South Node, the past karmic point. So you can see there's a lot hinging on this tension, this tense aspect throughout 2021, your relationships and how that's going to impact on your family life. Bear in mind, this 4th house is not just your physical residence. That's a very, sorry, I did my back in yesterday, a very superficial understanding of this 4th house. It actually has to do with what I've said many times too. Home is where the heart is. Where's your heart sitting right now? You've got to get honest with yourself. What you will find, I think, and this is happening for many of us now, the superficial side of the relationship remains intact. We have to keep that. It's almost like bits of cotton and stitching it all together so that we have the appearance that everything's okay. But actually what Uranus is doing is going, we're going to break this down, baby, because in the deepest recesses of your heart, you know you don't feel comfortable. You know you're not being fulfilled. Yes, you have the traditional sort of outward genuflection to the, tradition, the altar of marriage, but you don't feel good about it. You've got to work on that. And that, I think, is one of the key issues. The angles of the horoscope are really the foundational parts of what's going on in your life. And so that is playing out for you. Now, the eclipses are going to punctuate some of those retrograde movements I just mentioned to Jupiter and Saturn. 26th of May in Sagittarius. Finance. Okay, so I'm not going to completely forget that. We know that if the South Node and Venus are in this area of your horoscope, Venus is ruling the 12th house of expense. There could be massive expenses there up until Venus leaves. I'd be saying maybe up until the end of January for some of you, early February. Really got to put a lid on it, and you're going to be a lot more careful about how you're spending your money. You're changing the past patterns of your financial behaviour shown by the South Node and the 12th rule of Venus. By the way, there may be a lot of expenditure on your partner or on the marriage, or setting up a new structure for marriage. Business partnership may also be covered by that particular transit. 10th of June, a solar eclipse taking place in the 8th house. Again, the 8th house is right opposite the 2nd house. This is the money you share with others. Big desire there to earn more money, but also you've got to be careful with the North Node and the South Node. What I've found in my experience, Scorpio, is that the nodes can give you a lot of money quickly, but then they as quickly take it away. If you're earning money or you start to see the generation of new income streams, it's quite likely you will gain some, I guess, advantage in the financial area. But if you don't look after that money, if you spend it willy-nilly here, there and everywhere, sharing it with friends and not really being prudent, you're not going to have much to show for it. The nodes will take that money back. So put a little aside every time you earn that throughout 2021. 8th house is bank savings, it's annuities. There's a lot of karma tied in with money right now. That's one of your big lessons throughout 2021, as shown by that. And we see that that's also going to be tied in with the home, because Jupiter and Saturn, as they're transiting this year, and as this Rahu transits in reverse, which the nodes do, they act a little contrary to the planets, a triangular aspect will work. So the tension that's there now is going to ease up later in the year, but only if you grab control of your finances. The third aspect here, or the third transit, the eclipse in Taurus, 19th of November, bang, this is going to redefine all of your relationships. You can run, but you can't hide. That's all I can say. So my advice to you is just get down to the nitty-gritty. If there's some dirty business you got to get on to, if there's stuff there that's going to hurt your feelings, you just got to get over it and do it. Do it early. Then that's going to minimise the impact later in the year. Final eclipse for the December in Sagittarius. So as I see what I said, can run, but you can't hide. It's going to come back here into this second house of finance. That may also, in time, open some new opportunities for earnings as the second house's income streams and the money that you earn from your self-exertion. One last thing, the general public may be the key to you earning that money. The moon is up here in the 10th house on New Year's Day 2021. That indicates, I guess, or sets the trend for what's likely throughout 2021. Look, there's so much more. Go to the site, astrology.com.au. I welcome you to take a look at the yearly synopsis there, the 3,000 words I mentioned. There are monthlies that we're putting up. I'm doing weeklies now. That's going to help you contextualize all the bits and pieces that I've talked about here in the larger picture. I'm available for those most important personal readings, which are usually timely at the beginning of the year. If you'd like to know more about how this is influencing you specifically, not in terms of the Scorpio tribe, drop me a line here. Subscribe, and please stay safe. Don't drink too much tequila, and especially don't drive when you've drunk too much tequila. And I'll see you again in February. Take care now. God bless. Bye-bye.